Hi, this is Paula Glory, and this show is called Farther Down the Rabbit Hole. I'm particularly happy to have today with me my very own sister, Helen Tsakonas, who's a wardrobe consultant in Berkeley, California. And what we're going to be talking about is going farther down the rabbit hole of fashion and how beauty and harmony is related to our full personal development. So Helen, thank you.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
Yes. You know, practice makes perfect. Do you want to talk about the Berkeley Monthly or the monthly article to give people a feeling, or do you want to start off in another way?
Well, let's start with the monthly because it is a good launching pad for what I'm up to today. The Berkeley Monthly is a local paper that's been out for about 25 years. It's got an 81,000 circulation, and the article that I'm in is called Feminist Fashionistas. And the title is relevant because it's about growing up in Berkeley, or particularly in the academic world, and as a woman not wanting to show femininity or a sense of style, so to speak. And the author called me and asked me if I would come and help her with her existing wardrobe.
Well, just one second, because the idea is in Berkeley that style is sort of the antithesis to being brainy and sort of savvy about what's going on in the world, that if you really understood politics, you wouldn't possibly be so superficial.
Exactly. Exactly the word I was going to say before you said that it was superficial, frivolous, unimportant, and you couldn't be a real academic intellectual if you had a sense of style or concern about one's appearance.
Right.
And when we talked earlier at another show about professors teaching and having holes in their jackets and
The
the herringbone tattered jacket to show that the mind was more important than the exterior or the body, in itself is a rather political stereotype that they were wholeheartedly embracing, and they still do. I grew up in Berkeley.
Wholeheartedly, I really love it.
Yeah. So, but Diana DeVicia is the author, and she said to me that this article turned out to be a more personal journey. And I said, it is a personal journey for each person. And I thought that was a very beautiful remark that she made, and an honest one. So the article talks about her daughters calling her in one night and saying, "Mommy, you have to watch this segment of Saturday Night Live." And it was a segment on mommy jeans. And most of our viewers, I'm sure, have heard about there that if her children were feeling somewhat embarrassed of her, that maybe she ought to take a look at where she was at this stage in her life, and that maybe appearance made a difference.
Right.
And it's so well written. It's humorous, but it's heartfelt, and it's on. I was going to say problem or sad aspect to women and their concern about appearance. When there is when one does put attention on their appearance, often there's an apology behind it. Like, well, my daughters asked me, and so therefore, and that, well, why can't she ask herself?
Right.
And
well, that's why I was excited about doing this show, because New York, where I'm living now, is known for fashion, but New York also, has a lot, of other things going. But I'd like to see the political awareness being blended with fashion, that it can help people be more active citizens.
Political awareness, spiritual development, inside and out. How we appear often is reflective of what we're about inside, if not feeling at that time. And there was a beautiful documentary that was made called The Beauty Academy of Cabal. And there was a New York Times reviewer, it was a one-line comment. A critic said that human beauty was a natural desire. Beauty was a human desire, natural desire. And notice it's not female or male, it's human.
Right.
To feel good about ourselves and to want to harmonize inside and out.
Right.
I do work with male clients too.
Right,
and
right.
Everybody's concerned about their appearance.
Yeah, and to be inspired by the harmony, because it's like there's light at the end of the tunnel. It gives a hopefulness to carry on.
It's a hopefulness to carry on and be understood in terms of who we are. There's a great quote that my mother had turned into a calligraphy art piece, actually, but it's a quote by a Russian cellist about music and art, and I consider clothing to be an expression of art. And
let me put it on this one here. You want to read it?
And I can read it while they're looking at it. It says, "You know, music, art, these are not just little decorations to make life prettier. They're very deep necessities which people cannot live without. And every musician, every artist, and I say person, has a heavy responsibility, though not all of them realize this. To be true to art, they must really forget themselves and devote their lives to something larger in which they believe." Well, I like to say what I believe is authenticity of who we are, and not being afraid to show that. Sometimes maybe you've heard clothing is like wearing armor, or when you feel good, people say, "I feel like I'm wearing my happy armor," because it's conveying who I am. And who doesn't feel happier when they're confident and they're in a sense, I'd say, accepted, although that can get political.
Right.
What is accepted or pleasing, harmonious.
Right, right. Can you kind of explain to people what harmonies are? Because you don't use seasons anymore, and in New York, not that many people know about doing your colors. It's very much a California thing.
Sure.
So they're not even aware of the evolution that you phased out the seasons.
Yeah.
But I always liked it. I was basically a spring type, and my sister, as you can see, is very different coloring in a winter, but you don't use that anymore. So
No. I'm tempted to do one quick little variation on why I even got involved in this area. Was my sister and my mother had their colors done, and this is in the 70s, and it was often associated with seasons. You're a winter type, like Paula said, or a spring
Let me
type.
just show my mom just to see. You can keep carrying on.
And my mother gave me a gift certificate to have my colors done, and I said to her, "No thanks, keep your hard-earned money." It was $35 to have your colors done in 1973. I will be just like you and my sister. So when I went to have my colors done as a rather disillusioned 17-year-old teenager, wearing my hiking boots and jeans and turtleneck, and basically miserable in Berkeley because I didn't really look good in that, that's all it did. And anyway, so this person who did my colors, a very quiet cat that ate the canary type of person, no BS at all, very serious. And then he silently asked me a few questions, and then he showed me his interpretation of what my colors were, which are these electric, strong colors. I was the opposite of my sister and mother. And it sounds corny, but it was like $1 million worth of therapy for a 17-year-old, basically to be told, not only are you different, you're okay the way you are. Right. So that was powerful. And at that time when I left, I thought, I started wearing some of the recommended colors, and the responses were incredible to the viewer and to how I felt. So I thought if I could help somebody someday, I'd like for them to have the same experience. And so here I am all these years later helping people. But the colors and the concept was based on the seasons. And in the 1970s, somebody took the information later, because the founder of Personal Style Counselors she was so busy she didn't have enough time to get a book together. But you've probably heard of Color Me Beautiful, and in a way it helped the concept, in a way it injured the idea. And that is, it's very hard to do something through a book because people's colorings are so individual, but there's tendencies, but there's nuances that are very unique to that one person. And after John Kitchener, who is now the senior color consultant at Personal Style Counselors, has worked with 21,000 people, there's tremendous experience and knowledge behind this approach to color. So we call it color harmony because it's the harmony of the person. So the colors is important, and then the bone structure is important, or the style lines.
So by color you mean the color of the hair, the color of the eyes?
That's what the colors that an individual is given is based on. Your eye color, hair color, and your skin color. And skin color meaning the colors in your skin, not if you're Asian or Afro-American or Hispanic. We all have the same colors in our skin, but we have them to different degrees. It's really important. A lot of people don't understand that. They'll just assume Afro-American is a warm type, meaning wearing warm fall colors. And Asians are high contrast types, striking types that would wear black and white well. But it's not true. There's tendency in colors for sure. and somewhat culturally you'll see that, but certainly so much variation in between. So those are the two concepts that I work with, is the coloring of somebody and then the style lines, meaning the bone structure of a person, body type, whether they wear large dolman sleeves, exaggerated jewelry, and there's different amounts of different style lines in somebody. For an example, I'm a classic type. There's balance in my bone structure. If you divide me in thirds, there's still something that's followed in design school too about the Greek idea of balance and I was going to say beauty. So I have a balance, but then, as I say in a YouTube tape that I did a year or so ago, there's an exaggeration in my profile between my chin and nose. It's not in perfect harmony. So that exaggeration creates drama and intensity. I don't have that much. I have 20% drama is how it's broken down into percentage. These are all generalizations that give people the idea of the tendency of their look. 50% classic, 20 drama, which is overscale jewelry like this ring, necklace, and then other areas that it's probably too much to go into now.
Well, for an example, I'm a very different type. You know, in those days I called myself winter, and I know that littler things work for me, right?
Well, that's the way they used to do it, but they even separate it more now in terms of your individual bone structure. They used to say, for example, everybody who's a spring type or animated type, wears small little prints. Well, not necessarily. You could be a very strong, big, sturdy bone structure person, and you wouldn't be wearing little prints, but your coloring could be, spring colors could be in a muffler or a scarf, the colors, but not necessarily delicate prints. If you have what we call a youthful type, the Meg Ryan type, Alice in Wonderland, that's little delicate prints.
Tell them what my type is.
Oh, your type. You're what we used to call the animated, lively, bright type, and really what it means, it's easiest way to think about it, if it's color that's squeezed out of a tube, if you've taken art class, it's easy to imagine.
Your color's squeezed out of a tube.
Yeah, in a very saturated color, almost in the purest pigment. Then you start adding white and it becomes softer, brighter, lighter, what we would call a bright pastel. And that's usually associated with springtime. That's what you are. But you also have a very high dose, a high shaker of a soft kind of coloring. It's a colors that have almost a fog over them, a gray kind of, think of England, grayed down colors. So she's bright with a softness. Now, in terms of bone structure, she loves this part. She's what we call an angelic type. They're otherworldly, and they're usually an oval face, usually lots of elongation, very tall.
I'm not elongated.
No, but you have some, and that's not your major one.
Right.
You also have a little bit of classic, like I do. You do have a little youthful.
I do. I didn't think so.
Just a little bit. Don't you have a little? And maybe a touch of natural, but what we also find, and this is important too, we have color stylity that reflects these types. This is all general information and generalizations, but they're often very, very accurate. Donald Sutherland is a great example of an angelic type because he's a man.
Who is he?
And he's a tall actor, very elongated face. Think of Modigliani and Greco, these faces that are very unusual, otherworldly. He's a really good example of an angelic type man.
Right.
So we're not forgetting the men folk here.
No, of course not. Now, what I want to get at is, because I'm always interested, I knew I threw this at you last time and maybe you weren't comfortable with the topic, but how is it that being more harmonious on the surface seems to address some feeling of comfort inside us deeper, even all the way to the soul, that there's a reason we choose the body that we have, and to understand its harmony seems to make our soul more powerful, or whatever that inner thing
not
is.
uncomfortable with the question. That's really why I'm doing this, probably. If somebody really distilled it, because isn't authenticity in its most powerful state about the soul?
Yeah.
Really expressing who we are.
Right.
And we don't even know this, but if we allow it to happen, Maybe we don't know why we're attracted to harmony, or we feel better when we're understood.
Right. But isn't it sad that without, embracing it as a science almost, or as part of our birthright, to be able to extend the harmony of our body, shopping and being concerned with appearance becomes something to be ashamed of or superficial. And I think it can get excessive.
Oh, absolutely. When I started in this work almost 20 years ago now, occasionally I would meet the husbands, and I worked primarily with women in the beginning, and then the husbands would come in and look, they were very polite, but they maybe just thought it was kid stuff. And then I said to them, oh, well, I'm here to help your wife or partner with her clothing, and then she can get on to other things. And they just love that. But it wasn't putting it down.
Right.
There's a line that Diana quoted me, I forgot I said, but it made sense that I said it, which is, once we get our colors and our style and what we feel comfortable in, we can get on with things.
Right.
Or along with things. I like the idea of harmony.
Right.
Because we talked at another time about one of John Kitchener's clients, a man said, oh, so you're telling me that you do read a book by its cover. It was a really profound remark. It doesn't mean that it's superficial, but in a sense we do show what we are in the inside, or we want to, and we often don't know how.
Right.
And nature gave us the coloring, so we're going with that.
Right.
That's kind of a trade secret, I'll tell you, is really what you're doing is you're repeating what your coloring is. If you can see you have dark hair and light skin and green eyes, that sets up contrast, so I'm repeating that in what I'm wearing. Paula doesn't have as much contrast. It just can't wait to get the camera on herself to show you.
Not that she doesn't like
She has fair hair, green eyes, and skin that has a little more of a pink tone. There's not a harsh contrast.
Yeah, so I would pick harmonies or clothes that would repeat that harmony.
Shopping is something that is a very, I talked to my sister at length about it a few weeks ago because it's the least favorite thing that I do. And when I started out with this work, I was helping people apply the color and style lines that they were given to their wardrobe, their existing wardrobe, and then they were begging to go shopping, and I felt that I was leaving them in a lurch. So I do shopping, but it's hard work because there's so much that you're sifting through that's out there. So I try to give people as much information to make them independent.
Right.
They don't need me as their personal stylist. I'm happy to do it, but again, one reason I went into this is to make people feel better about themselves and more self-sufficient.
Right.
And we were also talking about there's so much offered out there that it's almost too much. And that's why I started doing seminars. They're called personal style dressing or everyday dressing. Somebody said, what does everyday mean? A troublemaker. I used to call it casual dressing because there isn't a dress code anymore for people to follow in business, barely suits in any area. It used to be stockbrokers and bankers, and that's even changing. So men are lost with the dress code. The worst thing that people tell me that ever happened to them was called Dress Down Friday. They just went into an utter panic.
What's Dress Down Friday?
Well, they're starting to go back to dress codes now because people were coming to work in flip-flops and jeans, and it's not that the world is really promoting strictness. There's a line between comfort that works for you and what makes others uncomfortable. Coming into somebody's office and seeing the guy in flip-flops and jeans, probably you're going to wonder how they manage your money. I could be digging myself a hole here. You might really like that. That's the man for me. I mean, I worked with an attorney who prided wearing banged up T-shirts. And I said, that's fine, but it's a bad color on you. I offered to do a trade with him, actually. He got really shy.
Oh, really?
You know? But I appreciated what he was after was approachability, and he was an extremely ethical, wonderful person. And that's really what he was trying to convey, but it can also get misinterpreted into trying too hard.
Right.
But at any rate, there's a lot of confusion out there, and that's why I feel like the work is so crucial to have the knowledge of coloring that works for you and style lines, and then you can go out there and really be clear on what it is that works for you. Also, I lost my thread. That's why I started doing seminars, talking about what the key pieces are for people and how important proportions and silhouettes are. A lot of this I'm going to talk about on my own live show because there's a lot of material to cover.
Right. Well, I'm really looking forward to having my sister to have Hella live, because I think as we start to stream live and as the cameras are getting better, I know Skype is offering really good cameras, you know, you can start to see some of the people that are calling in, and you can help out that way. I'm looking forward to it just because I like to have models of beauty and harmony. It inspires me, and it makes me want to get into the other part of my work even more invigorated. So how else do you see the website?
Oh, well, I think of it as a live or very up-to-date, up to the live moment newsletter. I think newsletters, it's about sharing ideas. That's another thing. It's interactive. I'm hoping I can take calls and answer questions right then and there, and address the whole span of ages and genders. And there's something, there's so many things that's coming out too in great books. It's So You, 35 Women Write About Personal Expression Through Fashion and Style. Variety of ages, and let me just read what one of the critics said about this. It's so good. Fashion never had this big a mouth. It's So You packs the politics, sex, and personal history back into a corset lacer of a book that will leave you gasping with laughter, wonder, and pure insight. I like the pure insight. Sometimes these guys get a little too cliche. There was something really good here, up about 10 buttonholes, and makes you realize that a woman is never more naked than when she's clothed. That's true for men as well.
Wow.
This is incredible. So an autographed copy, and I missed their reading. I didn't even know they existed. That's how much information is out there. But the point is, how many people have time to go find the books?
Or even know that the books exist.
Well, that's exactly. Thank you.
We have to make a science out of it.
So I want to share
in a good way, not a scary way.
No, and it's I read everything I can because nobody's the only one expert, but I like to know what everybody's thinking on this topic. It's huge.
Yeah, and along those lines, when you do have the seminars and the meetings, it's something that's dynamic and ever-changing and growing. I mean, there's something Ella used to call color violation, where for absolutely no reason you can understand something really works. And there's a space for that too. So this is not constricting knowledge, it's going to limit you.
No, it's not
give
dogma.
You more possibilities.
It's not dogma, it's staying open to all the possibilities, absolutely. There is no one system. I also wanted to say the seminars, it's a way for people not to feel isolated. The comment in the article that Diana makes when she went to the seminars that, I wasn't a fashionista, meaning up on whatever was the latest and quick, we have to run out and buy, Gucci purses and so forth, which in a way that would be obvious in Berkeley. But
it would be obvious if they think that.
Well, that I wouldn't be doing that if I was in Berkeley. But she said that besides the fact women were vibrant and intelligent, it felt like an underground meeting that women were even interested in this. Again, going back to the apology and embarrassment.
Wow.
So they're sitting
it's
at
like
their
an
house.
Underground meeting because they're ashamed that they're going to a fashion.
So they're sitting there watching all these style shows on TV. Unfortunately,
secretly.
A lot of them, well, almost nobody, including these books, address color. It's just shocking. Or if they do, they say everybody can wear black. It's like, no.
Right.
There are other things that they can wear that are great. But anyway, but the point I wanted to make is isolation being a huge problem. And even just a newsletter, it's better to be live and vital, the information.
So when you're talking about isolation, you mean people feeling insecure about their appearance and what to do, particularly now that there's so many choices, that they can come together in a group and
closet shoppers too, buying things and hiding it and ashamed. And
what's that mean, closet shopper?
People that shop like crazy, put it all in their closet, and then they're embarrassed that they have it and they don't use it.
Yeah. We have just 5 minutes left. Do you want to talk about You're going to be doing colors. That's John Kitchener, right?
Yeah, John Kitchener's the senior color artist from Personal Style Counselors. The founder just passed away this spring, and she really
Joan
started.
passed away?
Yeah, and I went to her memorial, and it was lovely, and she was a real beacon of knowledge. She said in one of her quotes, she was what we used to call them the soft types or summer types. She said, "This knowledge of color and style is like finding the keys to the universe."
Yeah.
She really said that, and the
Right.
more I work with it, the more I realize it's not an airy
A
comment. She was a
superficial thing.
very down-to-earth person,
Right.
very devoted. And but she, well, I shouldn't say because you don't know. She really gave our blessings to continue carrying out the knowledge in the purest form that we can.
Oh, that's nice.
It's very, very important to keep it individual and not just professional, but we give as much as we can give to help people.
Can you talk about those little earrings?
Oh, yeah.
It's just something practical.
Mm-hmm. These are an earring. These earrings came
Let me
from.
put them in.
Is it this the camera?
Yeah. Here, I'll show it. Yeah.
You could explain where they came from, and I can explain who can wear them.
These come from the Village Scandal, which is the hat shop where I work in the East Village, and obviously they're snowflakes. And I always remember Hella telling me that she was
Like striking.
animation. We have a
Yeah.
little white in here.
And actually, what that was later termed was a little bit of angelic.
Oh.
And romantic I have, and then I have some drama. So the scale is a little bit large on these snowflakes, therefore they suit me.
Uh-huh.
And
Whereas
then
when they put them on me,
they're a little too large, and
So
I call it the snowflakes are wearing you.
Yeah.
That's another thing.
Although I did do them on, sometimes I do over-the-top shows.
And that's okay too. Again, it's not dogma.
Yeah.
It's playing with ideas.
But I understand what you're saying.
Oh, and another thing I love to tell people, I get very excited about this very simple point, is always go with your mood.
Oh, I only have 30
Because,
seconds
oh
left.
boy, okay.
We have to
Well,
go with our mood. but-
watch live. As soon as you
right.
put HellaPersonalStyle.com
.com.
is the website that's still somewhat under construction, but Hella Personal Style Live, or is it just
No,
Hella?
it's just going to be Hella Live when we get the stream
Okay.
going, and I want to get something on a regular basis because the idea of introducing harmony is so important as you go farther down the rabbit hole and you learn more and more. So thank you so much for joining me, Hella.
Thank you, it's great.
And so just stay tuned. Maybe out of Berkeley, we'll get the message all over the world.
Cheers.
Good. And then you can stop it with that.